Though it was not the most surprising news of the day yesterday, easily, hands down, the most surprising news of the day was Mason Rudolph returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers to be QB3, a move no one at all saw coming this offseason. Half the fan base is thrilled about it. Half the fan base is so pissed that they added Mason Rudolph to be their QB3. I don't get that one. I mean, outside of just pure what were your reactions to this?
Well, I didn't know that the fan base, they're half the fans happy about this. I was gonna say,
Oh yeah, my Twitter is just half of this is ridiculous. Why would you sign Mason Rudolph sucks? Why would you sign him? Why would you re-sign Mason Rudolph? I'm like, well, because he's not going to play,
yeah,
but
I feel like doesn't.
it's a better option than Tanner Morgan. That's why.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know who would be happy about this. I mean, Mason, obviously, because we were talking about this before we got on, but it means there was no deal out there for him. Like, no one else wanted
Yes.
him in a bigger role. But like, I feel like Mason didn't want this either. Like, this wasn't the ideal situation in his head. This wasn't the ideal
Mm-hmm.
situation in the Steelers' head. Like, that this seemed like a lose. Not, I wouldn't want to call it a lose lose. Like, because
It's a win-lose, but it's definitely a lose-lose for Mason Rudolph.
yeah, it's just I feel bad. Like, I don't know. I don't want to confuse people. I'm not a Mason Rudolph stan. I don't think he's great, but like he deserves a little better than this, Especially after what happened
Oh
last
yeah.
year. Like this just sucks for him, and I feel a little bit bad. But I mean, from a football perspective, Steelers got a better option than Tanner Morgan, I guess. So I mean,
Yeah.
they got to be happy
Yeah.
with it. But
Yeah, it's definitely a win for the Steelers. Like to have three veteran quarterbacks now, two of them that already know Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph. We talked about this a dozen times last season. Was as professional and as good as it got in that role. Like he did everything he possibly can, helped Kenny Pickett in any way possible, helped Mitch, was there for meetings, like never complained about his role. The dude held it together. Like that was the most impressive professionalism or active professionalism that anybody in that locker room showed last season, maybe outside of Deontay Johnson punching Mitch Trubisky in the face and being like, look, man, we cool. No big
yeah,
deal. I'll address it, but it's not that big of an issue, which again was very impressive. But yeah, for Mason, this is definitely a lose-lose. Like I thought he would have got a backup role somewhere. Ben DiNucci got a job before Mason Rudolph did, and to me, that's just like doesn't make any sense. I think Mason Rudolph's a good quarterback, not a good quarterback, but he's a good backup
yeah,
quarterback. He's great. He's a great presence to have. He obviously he's learned from Ben Roethlisberger, even though he didn't actually learn from Ben Roethlisberger, but he got to watch from him for a couple of years, which I think is impressive. I would have expected him to get a job somewhere, but yeah, just like we said, there's no way that anybody else called and he was just like, I got to go back to Pittsburgh. Like
yeah,
this is all I'm going to do. I think if anything though, it makes it easier because you now do look at this and say twofold. I think for one, there was probably a conversation in the whole thing. Like he's visiting the team before he actually signs a contract. And I think in that visit, there will be a conversation that if a deal does come up, if an opportunity does come up, you have to trade him. Like you
yeah,
have to get rid of him. You can't keep him around and say, we're just going to hold on to our
yeah,
QB3. But at the same time, when it comes to the Steelers, to have two veteran quarterbacks back there behind Kenny Pickett, if like a crazy situation happened and both Kenny and Mitch went down, you 100 out of 100 times want Mason Rudolph on the football field over Tanner Morgan, Bryce Perkins, or Hunter Johnson. Like it's just what you want out
yeah.
there. He's got familiarity with Deontay Johnson. He's got a winning record as a starter. He's been here with Najee Harris. He's been here with Matt Canada. Like the guy knows the offense. He was their best decision as a QB3. I'm sure it's for absolutely no money.
Yeah.
And I just overall, I think it's just a great deal.
Yeah.
It stinks for Mason. Again, wish he got a better opportunity, but
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, this is definitely a win for the Steelers.
That's a good point you make, though, about him putting in his contract whatever the opposite of a no trade clause is, like a yes trade clause.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope that works out for him. I feel like they, I think we said this at the beginning of last year, but someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to need a
Mm-hmm.
backup, an extra quarterback. I think that opportunity will be there for him, and you just hope the best for Mason because I think he deserves that.
Yeah, me too. And I think even with that, if teams call and they're like, "Hey, we want Mitch," that's still an upgrade
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
Mason because he gets an opportunity to at least he'll suit up on Sundays. That he'll be a backup quarterback,
Mm.
which I think is where where his role kind of is in the
Yeah.
NFL. But yeah, a trade clause, a must trade me
Yes.
clause is definitely part of
Never seen anything
it.
like it.
Should definitely,
Mason is an
yeah,
innovator.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's like, look, man, like I don't want to be here at all,
Mhm.
but I will be very good here. Don't worry about that one. But when the opportunity presents itself, get me out of
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
immediately. Thank you very much. Yeah. So shout out Mason. The Steelers quarterback room finished. That stinks for Tanner Morgan. I'm sure he'll get an opportunity, but I would imagine that it's probably a Chris Oladokin opportunity.
Yeah.
Like at this point, you're taking 15 snaps this summer, and you better hope that somebody calls
Yeah.
and
Better hope
you get a shot
better
somewhere.
hope they're a damn good 15 snaps.
Yeah. You better look real good in that 1 2 minute drill that you
Yeah.
get at training camp because that's going to be the only tape you get, and you better make the most of it.